A federal appeals court says North Carolina's voter ID law is no good. The three Democratic-appointed judge panel ruled the law discriminatory. As you might remember, similar laws were also shot down in Texas and Wisconsin. In Kansas, a law that required evidence of citizenship was thrown out. Let's bring in Hans von Spakovsky, Election Law Reform Initiative Manager, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. And if you want to add more to the resume, here it is. Authored the book Obama's Enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department. Hans, always good to see you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm looking at the ruling specific to the North Carolina law. The judge writing that it imposes cures for problems that did not exist. I'd be willing to bet that you disagree with that.
Oh, I do disagree with it. That decision was driven by bias, partisanship, and ideology. It has no resemblance to the facts and the evidence in the case. For example, the predictions were, and the speculation is, these election reforms would drive down, suppress the vote of African Americans in the state. Most of these reforms were actually in place in the 2014 election, and guess what happened? Turnout went up dramatically, and in fact the turnout of African American voters increased at a larger rate than that of other voters. All the speculation by the judges is just simply wrong.
When we talk about this, how can this issue be viewed so differently? You think the law is the law, and at some level you sort of say, okay, well, if somebody wants to register to vote, they could or could not have an ID. But why has this become such a Democrat-Republican issue versus one that's sort of where the law views it?
Well, unfortunately, these Democratic judges and members of the Democratic Party want to manipulate the Voting Rights Act to turn it into a political weapon that will give them an advantage in elections. And unfortunately, that's why we're getting bad decisions like this. I know we're concentrating on North Carolina, but we should note that we had a similar decision, a bad one, from the Fifth Circuit over Texas's voter ID case. And in that one, the dissenting judges said that the majority was manipulating the law and misapplying the facts. And that's exactly what happened in North Carolina, too.
So where does this go? Does this all come to the Supreme Court at some point, hopefully before November?
Yeah, it is going to go to the Supreme Court. And let me tell you what these judges are counting on. The 6 judges of the Supreme Court who upheld Indiana's voter ID law in 2008, 2 of them are gone. Justice Stevens retired. Justice Scalia, of course, has passed away. So they are gambling that the Supreme Court won't overrule them because they know that the 4 liberal justices on the court will rule against any voter ID law, no matter what the facts, no matter what the law. So they're assuming with a tie vote, these bad decisions are going to be upheld.
And by the tie vote, you mean that if it's 4-4, the lower court ruling stands. Conceivably, this goes even more to the issue, although this isn't one of the hot-button social issues, about why the Supreme Court is so important and how it plays into this election.
Oh, absolutely. Election integrity is at stake in who gets onto the Supreme Court.
All right, Hans, appreciate your time and your insights here. Complicated situation that you broke down for us. Good talking to you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Liz?